Welcome back to Inside the Idaho Vandals with head coach Paul Petrino. I'm Dennis Patchen. Thanks so much for being with us. Let's talk about week 2. Let's talk about Laramie, Wyoming and the Wyoming Cowboys.
You know, they did a good job. They really played hard against Nebraska, had a chance to win it there at the end. Thought their defense flew around and played real hard offensively. You know, they had a great quarterback. They spread the ball around. They do a lot of the same things that, you know, their head coach did when he was in Missouri as a coordinator. And he's back calling the plays himself, and that's probably going to make him a lot better team. He's a great coach, and we just got to do a good job of containing the quarterback. We got to get to him. We got to put some pressure on him. We got to hit him. You know, that's probably, he's real talented. He can throw the ball. He can run, and we got to do a good job of putting pressure on him, getting after him.
You only got 1 sack last week against North Texas, but you did get 7 tackles for loss. I mean, are you happy with what your defense is able to do, at least limiting yardage?
Yeah, but we got to hit the quarterback more. You know, there was a couple times we had some blitz or stunts on, and the guys they just got to pull the trigger. Right. You know, they just got to go and not worry about making a mistake. There's a couple times they kind of slowed down, worried about the guy breaking contain. They got to be more aggressive and just pull the trigger and go and try to lay out and hit him and make. You got to make the quarterback uncomfortable, and we didn't do a good job of that last week. And then the guy we're playing this week's a lot better quarterback than we played against last week. So we better make sure we get to him and hit him and make him uncomfortable. And then in the same aspect, offensively, we got to hold on to the football. We got to make sure that we're out on the field as long as possible. So we might have to, you know, game plan-wise, it might be a little bit more other things emphasized so that we make sure we take care of the ball, and we want their offense standing on the sideline as much as possible.
You said an interesting thing in our first segment. You see, and I've heard this from a lot of coaches, you see the most improvement from week 1 to week 2. Is that simply because guys have played a game, they kind of know the speed of the game, what the coaches expect in a game?
Yeah, I think it is, and especially when you have a new staff and so many new guys playing. You know, a lot of people, like all 3 linebackers, they're all junior college guys, first time playing in a Division I game. Quarterbacks, freshmen, receiver, freshman, running back, freshman. You know, one of our offensive linemen is a freshman. So there's a whole bunch of guys that are playing that just haven't experienced it before. And you can go and practice and you can have all the scrimmages you want, but when it's live bullets and everybody's running around fast, they just got to trust their training, to be honest with you. They got to believe in their technique and their fundamentals that they do every single day. And when they get out there, just trust it and not think about it so much and just play. And I think we had a few guys that were thinking a little bit too much and too much worried about making a mistake instead of just believing in their training, believing what they've been coached, trust their technique, and just let it go and fly around and make plays.
I know that, I don't know if you're going to talk to your team about altitude or not, but when you get to Laramie, they sure want you to know it's 7,000 feet. There are signs. I think there's one on the airport. Yeah. I think there's one in the stadium. How do you deal with playing at altitude? Do you do anything different this week?
I don't think you worry about it. You just go play. You know, I coached Utah State. We had all those signs in our locker room and everything too. But you just go play. It's no different than last week was in the humidity. You know, when you go on the road, there's the controllables and the uncontrollables. You know, there's things you can't control. You can't control how hot it is. You can't control how humid it is. You can't control, you know, the altitude. So you just got to go and play. You know, and so that's the things you can control your mental preparation. You can control how hard you play, and so we can't worry about the uncontrollables. We just got to go out and control what we can control and play as hard as we can.
Let's talk about some of the things you can control. Then let's talk defense. You talked about hitting the quarterback more, but what else do you want to see from your defense in week 2 that tells you there's improvement?
We got to not let their receivers get what we call yak or yards after catch. You know, last week they got way too many yards after the catch, so we got to limit that. You know, he's going to complete balls. When they catch it, we got to tackle them right where they're at. Everybody's got to fly to the ball. You know, we got to make sure we're gang tackling, and we can't let them get as many yards as they were getting after the catch last week. I think that's a huge thing. We got to make sure that we're gap sound and in the running game, and make sure everybody's taking care of their job, and that's a big thing that hurt us a couple times last week on some big runs. And we just got to tackle. We got to do a great job of tackling, everybody flying to the ball. But probably the biggest thing that I want to see improvement on is limiting their yards after the catch. And if we can do that, that'll get us off the field on some of those long yardage situations.
Let's talk about offense. You know, you talked about earlier what you wanted to see out of Chad and the turnovers, but what else do you need to see again to say that when, hey, we're getting better?
We got to run the ball. and part of that's myself. I got to call more runs, but we got to run the ball better, and I think that's a real big thing in this game because that can help keep our defense off the field. But I want to see us improvement on our running the ball. When we take shots in the deep play action, there was 3 times last game where, we had chances for game-changing plays where you only have so many times where you call the perfect play against that perfect defense, and it's there and it's open, and the receivers ran good routes and they were open, and it was either a protection breakdown or one time we missed them or one time we dropped the pass. But when we take those shots, everybody's got to execute. We got to hit them, and that's how you make the big plays. So what I really like to see is us run the ball better, do a better job executing our quick game, and then when we take shots, we got to execute them and hit them.
Will you feel more comfortable than maybe you did last week in your first week last week as a head coach?
I hope so. I hope as the game's going on, I feel a lot more comfortable. I think, the biggest thing there is we probably didn't, we probably took too much for granted the young guys in the no huddle. And that's something that we went out and started practice with last night and just went over it again and worked it, went 15 minutes just straight of communicating the different personnel groups that are coming in and off the field and communicating the formations, because as the game went on, I felt that they really weren't doing a great job of it, so I kind of stuck to the same personnel groups and the same formations, and you don't call a game as well as you can when you do that. So we got to do a good job of making sure we understand that everybody sees the signal, everybody knows what we're getting in, and then just lining up right to start with, and then that gives you a chance to execute better.
Now that you're a head coach, who are you leaning on? Who are you talking to during the week to help you through that part of the process?
No, I always talk to my dad and brother. First of all, my dad was a head coach forever. He's in the Hall of Fame, and I don't think there's a better head coach in the world than my brother or my dad, to be honest with you. So I talk to them both Saturday night, Sunday morning. They always got good advice, sometimes a little bit different. But those are the 2 biggest guys that I'll always lean on, and then John L. Smith would probably be the 3rd guy. Those are really my 3 mentors. Those are the guys that I learned everything from, and so those would be the guys that when I have questions or anything that I'll lean on.
Well, thanks for joining us
All
for
right,
the first
thanks.
show.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, and Coach Petrino will be with us all year long as we break down the thing. Good luck in Laramie, and
All right.
next week when you're here, we'll be talking about the first home game of the season.
All right, sounds great.
All right, that is head coach Paul Petrino, and we come back, we'll take a look at women's soccer, what's going on with the Vandal ladies on the pitch, plus our first campus connection of the year. That's all when Inside the Idaho Vandals continues.